Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to lecture 52. In this week we are basically discussing few aspects of the city manager's competency, so that at the individual level you can develop your own skills and competencies and excel in your professional area. So, last lecture, in the lecture 51, we started the discussion on the city image and how the city image can work excellently along with a image of a individual person. So, as a city manager, whenever you will be working or you will be serving in the urban sector, the image of a city definitely is a very big element which creates a kind of environment where a city attracts investment, a city delivers better services, etc., etc. But it is possible if all the individuals who are working for the urban government, they deliver good services, and it is also possible if they are competent. Now, what is the set of competencies required to deliver that good service or the good government, that we need to know. So, that is what we are going to discuss in today's lecture. So, in this lecture we are going to discuss how the competencies are related with the core values of the municipalities or the urban government. Then what are the key competencies for improving the urban governance, and how you can develop the key competencies at your individual level. So, in the beginning, in the lecture second lecture, please recall that we showed this slide, that where I showed you that the 7 principles of the urban governance which is given by United Habitat. I am not describing again, but I request you to recall the points of sustainability, subsidiarity, equity of the access, efficiency, transparency and accountability, civic engagement and the security. Now, these are basically what component of the urban governance. Now if I ask this indicator, that how it will be accomplished, then definitely you need to answer that an organization need to be equipped, need to be capable enough to develop or to deliver this. So, therefore, this core value, of say responsiveness, effectiveness, equity, resilience. So, these are the core values we discussed in the beginning, and then we discussed the core principles. Principles given by the United Habitat, UN Habitat. So, these core principles, there are 7 principles I just showed you principle. Now, basically these are what component, that what is the attributes of the urban governance. Now, this will be answered through the like how we can accomplish. So, if you basically ask this how, basically it is the competency of the people who are working. So, competency, capability of the people who are working or who will be delivering the services. And another dimension of this competency is that we told you that for performing anything, if we see from a individual performance level, this also we have discussed earlier, I just remind that. So, in the individual performance level also 3 things are required. Number 1 is the motivational factor, environment factor, and then behavioral factors. And the behavioral factors again is a combination of three aspects. One is its attitudinal component, one is skill component or competency component, and another is the knowledge component, right. Now, you know that we have discussed the motivational component and environment component is something which is done at the organization level. And on the other side we got the organizational core values which we discussed, core values and the principles of work and core principles of urban governance. So, these core values and core principles basically improves the motivational level, environment level of the organization by which a performance can be improved. So, this definitely improves, but at the individual level, at the personal level, it is the behavioral factor which basically helps, where we find the attitude, skill and competency and the knowledge factor which matters. So, therefore, this attitude, motivational and environmental conditions, since these are very difficult to change at the individual level, it is the knowledge and the skill competency which can be changed at the individual level, which can be sharpened to improve the delivery at the individual level. So, we should definitely list out the competencies at the individual level, which is essential. Now, so there are few competencies which is represented by the United Nations Habitat section. So, I would like to share that with you, so that you understand that what are the basic competencies essential to improve the function of the local government. So, first is the representation. Representation is the ability to represent a group of people. Now, when you are working as a elected representative or an engineer or an architect or planner or a executive officer or commissioner, basically you are representing the local people, the citizens through an organizational setup. So, it is ability to represent the citizens, right. Second, which they mention, it is the communication. The communication skill is very important, so that you understand what the expectation of the people, expectation of the higher government like state and the central government or the funding agency, and you can communicate what you can do or you can deliver or you can offer. So, communication with the organization, communication with the people and communication with the groups. So, we had a detailed discussion with the interface with the people and interface with the organization earlier, even though we will definitely have a dedicated lecture on improving the communication skill for the individual level, that we will discuss later on. So, representation and communication is the basic two competencies given by the United Habitat. Third is the facilitating. The meaning of the facilitating is that when the government people, they are not doing something directly or not helping somebody or some group directly by giving money or by giving something, but facilitating the process either by making some law, either by making some creating some better environment to work, so that indirectly any group or any individual gets some boost to perform that particular function. It is like not direct help or therefore, here in this process no money is involved or no expenditure is involved by the government, but due to the creation of a better environment or creation of a better legal setup or legal provisions, the organizations, companies, individual, they can perform better. So, facilitating is another very important function at the local level as well. Then using power, you know that after the 74th constitutional amendment and the state municipal act, now every local government enjoy the power of a government and they can make their own rules and regulation. Now, when we come to the using power at the local level, we have seen that in the local level there are cases of misusing power or abusing power. So, these are just reverse of not using a power effectively. When a power is given or authority is given to some individual or some organization, if they use that power effectively as per the given mandate, definitely a good outcome will be there at the end of the day, but which is sometimes does not happen. So, using power at the individual level is also important. We have seen that in local government level, even a clerk can misuse or abuse the power when he does not want to use the power effectively, or there is little amount of supervision or the some kind of different situation or environment, so that the using power is not happening in the urban local government level. In those situations, people suffer a lot. It is the miserable condition of the people which happens. So, representation, communication, facilitating and using power is the fourth competency. Now, fifth is the decision making. When you work at the urban level and urban government level, it is not only that desk work which is sufficient. You have to work with the people, you have to work with the groups, you have to work with the funding agency, you have to work with the technical people working in the organization, you have to work with the bureaucrats, even elected representatives. So, therefore, you have to take decisions time to time, every day, every moment. So, how you make your decision? Do you follow the decision in a proper framework or proper method or process? That is the question. Now, decision making, there could be failure of the decision, there could be wrong decisions taken, but decision making is a continuous process. So, we will have definitely a dedicated lecture on the decision making. This is very important part of a urban governance. Next is the policy making. Now, when the decisions are made day to day management of the urban affairs, now an urban government needs a long term policy or the direction for the development of that particular area. In that regard, an individual also need to think beyond the current scope of the work and see for the future and make or bring policy to the appropriate level, discuss and discourse those policies and make the policy appropriately, so that that can direct or show some light. The best cities what we have seen or what you have experienced in our country or maybe in other countries, all the countries, if whatever we are seeing right now, it has not happened in one day. Definitely there were some people who could see the future better than us, and they could make some policy, they could take the decisions day by day to fulfill that policy, to fulfill that dream. So, that is required, and it is essential to bring a city condition from a not so good condition to a better condition, good condition or excellent condition. So, policy making is something like making a direction of the city. So, representation, communication, facilitating, using power, decision making and policy making, which is basically direction. These are essential. These are 6 competencies required for improving urban governance. There are 6 more competencies I would like to share with you. Next is enabling. We have talked about the facilitating, where government people, they are not giving money, not giving any direct help or subsidy or anything, but they are creating some environment by which they can deliver some service, any organization or individual. In the enabling mode, they can help people to do some work. For example, in the municipalities, there are various groups like say self-help groups, small community based organizations, businessmen's organization. They can enable them by giving some power, some delegation, and also some amount of financial allocations, so that they become empowered to deliver some particular services. And this is something different than the facilitating. In the facilitating, they directly do not give money or any power, but they create an working environment. In enabling, they definitely help somebody to perform better or to improve their performance. Then negotiation. We have talked in details that negotiation is all about resolving conflict. Whenever you work in urban sector, and since our country is very much diverse, and within a small city also there are diversity in terms of the economic groups, diversity in terms of the social groups, diversity in terms of the geographical variations. So, whenever there are diversities and we want to make the development in the city, there are differences of the opinions and there are conflicting areas. To avoid and to resolve those conflicting areas, you need to negotiate with the people. Now, negotiation is basically making a situation where you can say I win and you also win. So, in this situation there is a win-win situation between the government and the citizen, all groups of the citizen. So, negotiation process needs a particular skill and competency by a individual, that is what is required. So, enabling a negotiation is another very important function. Financing. You know that nothing can be done without finance. You can make policy, you can make decisions, you can do anything, but without the actual resource which is required to create infrastructure, to provide services, it is not possible. So, financing means you have to think innovatively how you can bring money, how you can augment the revenues, and how you can utilize the revenues and the money in a better method, in a transparent way, in an equitable way, so that at the end of the day the output is become much more valuable than the input in terms of the money spent. So, financing skill is a very important skill of the urban and the city managers. It is irrespective of the cadres, like it is essential for the representative political executives, it is essential for the administrative persons or the functionaries and the technical persons as well. So, financing is important aspect for as a skill. Next is the overseeing that as a leader of the team, how you are supervising or overseeing the work of the others. Now, it may be possible that you are a very efficient person who delivers the work on time, but how you are taking your team to deliver a particular job, that is also important. So, at the end of the day your overseeing skill or the supervising skill is also important as a city manager. The next is the institutional building. Every city manager also has to think to build the institution. We told many times that in 1992 74th Constitutional Amendment Act came, and it made the basis or the foundation of the municipal government, but it is not only the act which made the municipal government as an institution in one day. So, there are many people who actually took decisions day by day to create a better organization, to enhance the capability of the organization in terms of the manpower, in terms of the equipment, to construct new buildings, to construct new campuses, to improve the organization by better process and systems, as we discussed in several lectures. So, these are the process of making an institution, the urban government, as a better institution to deliver. There are municipal governments who are now having dedicated cell for the disaster management. There are the institutions who have dedicated cell for the research and organization. There are institutions or the municipal government who issues the public bond or the shares in the market. So, you can understand that it has not happened in one day. There are people who can foresee, who can create that institution day by day. So, institution building is also another very important task when you fulfill the other task. So, enabling, negotiation, financing, overseeing and institution building is another set of the very important task or the skill. Last is the leadership. So, everything will fail unless you do not have a better leader. Now, when you say about the leadership, it is not the political leadership as only. definitely political leadership is a very important part of a municipal government, because the elected representative, they are basically coming and elected by the citizens and the people, and they can definitely direct the policies, decisions, projects, everything towards the requirement of the people. But for the day to day management of the urban government, it is the functionaries, technical persons and other people who are making the leadership successful. So, at your level, whenever you are working as a group, it is your leadership within your scope of work which matters for the performance of your section or of your group. So, leadership is very much important. Leadership is something which is foreseeing the future, leading the people, leading and encouraging, right. So, these are the 12 basic key competencies or skill set which is required for a city managers. Now, I would like to share some very interesting lines or catch lines which I have taken again from the United Habitat document, just to have a glimpse that how they have trying to defining this skill set, starting with the representation. I will not discuss this, but just have a look. I hope you got the meaning that representation is not only representing the people who have voted me. Representation is that representation of the land. Whoever is there in the land, whenever I am in the chair, I am supposed to represent the whole people, whole land, whole mother earth. Second, communication. So, here the key word is that listening, effective listening. Now, another with this I can share with you that that effective communication depends on the effective listening. And listening is not what other person is saying, what other person wants to say. That is the basic difference between the effective listening and the listening. So, that is the basic thing what they are also mentioning. Third, facilitating. So, in the facilitating, when you are helping others, both of you are becoming strong. In the using power, you can see one of the great challenges of the leadership is to develop harmony between service and the power that is necessary for the exercise of the leadership. So, using power I have discussed in a better way, in an effective way, and this line is taken from one of the Indian authors writings. Then decision making, just go through the lines, right. So, next is policy making. So, it gives a message that policy making is all about inclusiveness of the people. So, you have to include every people when you make a policy. Enabling. So, enabling is basically to enable somebody to perform something by giving some help, by collaborating. Then negotiating. So, in the negotiating, if you approach with a I win you lose approach, you will never succeed. In negotiation definitely your approach should be I win and you win. So, therefore, you can understand the same thing is written in this proverb. Financing. So, very nicely written that if there is no oil in the lamp, the wick is wasted. So, whatever you do, whatever you think or decide, without the finance or the resources, you cannot do anything. Overseeing. So, it is written very nicely that what everyone has seen and thinking what nobody has thought, very nicely written. So, that is the overseeing by a leadership position or by a city manager. Institution building. So, basically every individual person, whenever they work as a city manager in the city government, they will keep some track, they will keep some footsteps what the others follow. So, that is the your contribution in the institution building in your organization. Leadership. So, this is another lines given by some poets. So, these are the very important lines given by the United Nations. So, having said that, I tell you that definitely we do not have the time to have a dedicated lectures on the each and every competency. Some of the competencies we have already discussed, like leadership and everything, but some of the competencies like communication, negotiation, definitely we will have a dedicated lecture. Now, how we can develop the key competency? The first one is the awareness and the practice. You have to be aware about the skill set which is required as a tool to develop yourself and to develop your performance of your organization, and then you practice. Do not be fearful about the practicing of your skill set. Some of us, whenever we get new skill set, but we are fearful. When the computer comes, some of us we got the training or the coaching, but we were skeptical about using the computer. So, do not fearful about practicing the new skill set. Reflective learning. It is not that what you are learning, that is the only learning in the world. So, whatever others are learning, try to learn from them. They may be younger than you, they may be older than you, but that learning is important. That is called reflective learning. That is the learning which is reflected in others' practice, that is reflective learning. Third is the exposures and the eagerness to learn. Nowadays all the informations are available in the web. Before coming to the web age, there was the time when getting a particular information about the development or anything, it was very difficult, because physically you had to go to the municipalities or government organizations. But nowadays most of the informations are available, but those informations are theoretical information which is not sufficient every time. There are times then when you have to visit the places or the cities to get better exposures and to learn from the actual happenings, what is happening in other cities, other regions or other countries, or even within our country in other states, other cities, and then you learn and apply and contextualize. Taking risk and grow. Now, risk taking is important. Whenever we get a salary, whenever we are in our comfort zone, we do not want to take the risk, but think very carefully that it is you who, I mean, if you do not take the legitimate risk on your work, basically you do not grow, and if you take risk, you may fail, but that failure will definitely give a basis or the foundation of your growth and the further development. So, taking risk is important, but be brave enough, be confident enough to taking risk and perform better. That will differentiate you than the others, and you can make a footstep and you can keep a track of your work. That is what is required. And please think out of box. Whenever you see a problem, try to solve the problem from the given indicators or given situation and beyond that. That is what is required for thinking out of box. In the end of this course, we will definitely show some best practices where we will mention these points as well, but please follow these few points which will help you to develop your key competencies so that you can perform better and grow. So, having said that, I would like to summarize today's discussion. So, today we discussed that for performing or for creating a better government, we need to connect the core values with the core competencies at the individual level of the city managers. And for the city managers, we talked 12 key competencies which is given by the United UN Habitat. Those key competencies are required for improving the urban governance at every level. So, few of the competencies we will discuss later also as a dedicated lectures. So, today it was just a overview of the key competencies required, and we told you that you can improve the key competencies if you are aware and practice the competencies, if you take the risk to grow your skills, if you get the exposure from the others learning and the others visit of the other places, like that. So, that way you can it can help you to grow and better perform better. Next discussion will be on the decision making. Today we have told you that decision making is very important task of a skill of a city managers. So, we will have a dedicated lecture on the decision making. So, next lecture will be dedicated for the problem solving and the decision making. So, with this I extend my thanks to you.